It's springtime in the Northern Hemisphere, which means the grapevines are about to commence a 12-month journey through their life. In this video, we take a look at the vineyard cycle. Hello and welcome to the Grape Explorer, where we celebrate the world of wine. On this channel, we do wine education, product reviews, and lots of tastings. So if you're interested in wine, consider subscribing. Around March and April time in the Northern Hemisphere is when we start to see the first step in the 12-month cycle of the grapevine. The first step in that cycle is called Budburst, and it occurs around 10 degrees centigrade when the temperatures are starting to get a little bit warmer from the winter and the grapevines are starting to come out of their dormant period. The temperature at which the Budburst commences is very much dependent on the grape varietal itself. Certain grapes, such as Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, are known to budburst a little earlier at lower temperatures, whereas a grape like Cabernet Sauvignon is going to need slightly warmer conditions to allow the buds to burst. So this is step one and takes place around March to April in the Northern Hemisphere or September to October in the Southern Hemisphere. The next step in the process is early shoot and leaf growth. Now this usually happens around March to May, and again it's very much dependent on the temperatures in the vineyard. It can be dependent upon the grape varietal. There are a number of factors in the vineyard which can impact growth. This can be the weather. There are hazards in the vineyard. If it's particularly cold or particularly wet, it's going to be difficult for some of those vines to grow. So what you'll notice is a rapid growing of the vines on the actual plant itself, and that will result in flowering. At this early stage in the season, the vines really need a good source of water and nutrients to be able to sustain their growth. The next stage in the cycle is the flowering and fruit set, which takes place around May to June. Now for this particular step in the process, the vine is really starting to need that warmer weather. It needs to feel the sunlight and the warmth. And again, in the vineyard, that can come from many places. It can be the way that the vines have been set up within the vineyard. They may be trellised upwards to be able to grow and capture as much light as they can. They may be placed on a slope to allow maximum exposure to the sunlight. They may be placed next to a natural feature like a river, where the light can be reflected from the river, and also a body of water like a river can hold the temperature as well, which can increase the overall temperature in the vineyard. It's important to note at this stage that not every flower becomes a grape, and some of the grapes will actually develop without seeds as well. Either of these things happening in the vineyard and you're going to get a lower yield from that grapevine. As we move into the next stage, this is known as Veraison and berry ripening, and it occurs over a period of around 6 to 8 weeks in July through to September. Now at the start of this particular stage, the berries are green, and that's the case for both black and white grapes. Veraison signals the point at which the grapes begin to ripen, and so those green grapes that have been coming through from the flowers will gradually start to develop colour and pigmentation within the skin. Where the grapes do change colour, those black grapes are going to go a more purple colour, and those white grapes are going to go ever so slightly translucent and sometimes golden. Again, it really comes down to the grape varietals that are being grown in the vineyard. Also occurring during Veraison is the swelling of the grapes, the development of the sugars and the acids in the grape. Colour pigmentation and flavour compounds are starting to develop at this point. And for certain varietals, particularly the black grapes, the tannins start to develop in the skin. It goes without saying that at this point, warm and sunny weather will really help those grapes ripen and develop. And so around 6 months after that first bud burst, around September to October time in the Northern Hemisphere or March to April in the Southern Hemisphere, we're going to harvest those grapes. Ideally during the harvest period, the weather should be dry. Any excess rainfall late on before the harvest can actually swell the grapes, reduce the flavour quality of those particular grapes. So producers are really keeping a close eye on so that they can pick at the most optimum time. Once the grapes are harvested, we reach the last stage in the 12-month cycle of the vine. As the weather becomes colder during the winter months, a period of dormancy sets in within the vine. Within the vineyard, the leaves will start to fall away, and there will be extensive pruning of the grapevine to get it ready for the following spring. Because of the cold weather in some countries, some producers take to piling the soil around the base of the grapevines in order to protect them in extreme conditions. And so ends the last stage of the 12-month vineyard cycle. And so there we go, 12 months in the life of a vine. If you'd like some more educational type videos, let me know in the comments section below. I'm the Grape Explorer and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers.